Throw away every single theory about power outages, system glitches, or high-tech hackers slicing the feed. In the dead of night, exactly at 1:47, a stranger approached the doorstep of an 84-year-old grandmother, violently ripped the recording device right off its mount using nothing but brute strength before vanishing into the shadows. We aren't guessing here. This is the absolute starting point of our nightmare. Federal agents proved this through rigorous digital breakdowns, and the Pima County Sheriff backed it up publicly on camera. Whatever assumptions you had about the events that followed just went out the window, leading us directly into a massive paradox. That shadowy figure caught on tape, the exact same suspect, plastered across millions of television screens during primetime news, only tells a tiny fraction of the actual truth. Honestly, he might be a complete decoy in this twisted plot. Based on insider police details obtained by Fox News correspondent Michael Ruiz, Federal Crime Lab specialists dedicated about 10 straight days collaborating alongside Google technicians to salvage hidden files from that exact smart lens. The secrets they dragged out of the server went way beyond merely capturing the evening she vanished into thin air. Detectives uncovered snapshots dating back to January 11th, 3 entire weeks prior, showing the exact same lurker haunting her porch. The guy showed up completely empty-handed without a bag gun or a single tool on him. He definitely didn't arrive that winter evening to strike. He simply wanted to observe the layout. When this identical stalker returned 3 weeks later, locked and loaded, entirely aware of his entry point, authorities suddenly faced a much deeper mystery than simply identifying the culprit. They desperately need to figure out who gave him the green light regarding the unlocked entrance. Nancy Guthrie, an 84-year-old local, depends heavily on her cardiovascular pills. Sheriff Chris Nanos confirmed that strolling even 50 yards unassisted is physically impossible for her. Residing entirely by herself out in Tucson, Arizona, she relies upon an internal cardiac implant. During the late hours of January 31st, 2026, she drove back from a lovely meal at her kid's place, strolled past the parked cars indoors, and essentially evaporated off the face of the earth. 46 painful days have passed without a single sign she survived. Do not look away, because the things escaping those lenses barely scratch the surface of the terrifying clues detectives recently unearthed. Welcome back to Cold Case Files USA, where this specific mystery remains actively burning. 3 weeks prior to the abduction, an unknown prowler lingered outside Nancy Guthrie's residence, doing absolutely squat. They never rang the bell, never tried the handle, and left zero clues behind. Police contacts verified through Fox News stated that hardware-level extractions from the destroyed lens managed to restore a terrifying frame captured on Saturday, January 11th. Whoever was caught on screen carried absolutely zero gear, bringing no guns or breaking equipment whatsoever. They just lurked menacingly outside an isolated elderly lady's house, pausing just long enough for the very same device they eventually smashed to record their presence. Relocating to Tucson, Arizona was essential so Nancy Guthrie could stay close to her child Annie. Being nearby was a literal lifesaver due to her rapidly declining physical state. As Sheriff Nanos clearly stated, traveling 50 paces solo simply wasn't happening anymore. Daily prescriptions kept her ticking. Her chest housed a specialized medical tracker, silently beaming her vital signs directly into corporate databases 24 hours a day, completely bypassing local Wi-Fi routers and cell signals. The implant essentially created an unbreakable timeline of her heartbeat without requiring any input from her whatsoever. Neighbors easily recognized her incredibly predictable desert lifestyle. Whenever Friday nights or weekends rolled around, she could reliably be found hanging out over at Annie's property. Sharing meals, enjoying board games, and lingering well past sunset were normal activities. When January 31st finally arrived, the evening followed that exact familiar script. Just another peaceful family gathering, exactly like the countless ones before. Tommaso, her loving son-in-law, gave her a ride back and safely parked inside by 9:48 at night. 2 minutes later at 9:50, the motorized barrier shut and he headed off. There was absolutely nothing secretive about this habit. It defined her everyday existence. Based on journalism by Brian Entin, federal operatives descended upon the community again 45 days into the manhunt, directly questioning locals regarding any hired maids or construction workers permitted inside nearby residences. They weren't asking casually, this was highly strategic. Extortion letters mailed shortly following the abduction explicitly mentioned a pair of hyper-specific indoor features that police departments deliberately kept hidden from the press. Specifically, the precise spot where she charged her Apple Watch alongside a busted security lamp located deep in the backyard. Federal Special Agent Heath Jenica publicly verified these chilling facts, which eventually made headlines through Cole News 3 and TMZ. Gaining that level of intimate household intelligence is completely impossible if you are merely peeking through exterior glass. We also have to discuss the extremely shady situation involving the adjacent property's surveillance. Brian Entin's coverage alongside local eyewitness testimony revealed that a Ring doorbell positioned right behind the victim's lot mysteriously lost its connection the exact evening she vanished. The owner swore they hadn't received a single error message from that specific gadget prior to this incident. Federal insiders leaked to Bryan and team that they considered this overlapping malfunction incredibly suspicious. Authorities haven't provided any formal reasoning behind it just yet. Furthermore, January 11th happened to land on a Saturday. January 24th, the exact timeline, detectives fiercely grilled the community about while hunting for suspicious neighborhood behavior conveniently fell on a Saturday too. Detectives are absolutely agonizing over this glaring rhythmic pattern. Nancy Guthrie wrapped up her final Friday night sharing supper with her kid. Her crucial pills sat back at her residence, while her internal monitor silently tracked her pulse. The monster lurking in the shadows when she finally parked had been studying her movements for nearly a month. The absolute final verified photograph of Nancy Guthrie is just a metal barrier sliding shut. The clock reads exactly 9:50 at night on January 31st, 2026. Tommaso Cian pulled away seconds ago. The security feed perfectly captures the entrance ceiling shut, and immediately following that action, absolute nothingness. Zero outside motion gets flagged, the side cameras remain empty, and an eerie stillness dominates for 4 solid hours. Then exactly at 1:47 in the morning, the piece shatters. Right at 1:47, the main entryway feed goes completely dead. Federal investigators and Sheriff Nanos explicitly stated that an electrical grid collapse or wireless hacking had absolutely nothing to do with it. Somebody manually tore the hardware right off the brickwork and hauled it away from the premises. The intruder never bothered snipping vital wires or initiating a sophisticated digital jam of any sort. They brazenly strolled onto the porch during the witching hour, unbolted the lens manually, and walked off into the gloom. Exactly at 2:12, another security sensor on the perimeter caught a sudden flash of movement. It didn't record actual visuals, just a digital footprint, proving that something shifted outside. Then at 2:28, the victim's chest implant permanently severed its Bluetooth connection to her smartphone. These medical monitors normally stay linked up whenever the mobile device sits close by. Sheriff Nanos confirmed that at 2:28, this vital digital bridge was violently severed. Regardless of the disconnection, her internal hardware relentlessly uploaded her biometric details to the corporate cloud, functioning exactly as designed. A chilling reality immediately sets in. The victim vanished over 30 feet away from her smartphone. Crucial items, including her smartwatch and essential cardiac pills, remained totally untouched indoors. The local sheriff explicitly confirmed these vital belongings stayed exactly where they always sat. Nobody packed a single thing. Around 2:36 in the morning, neighborhood surveillance caught a mystery car roaming exactly 2.5 miles from her property. This undeniable video evidence firmly placed the automobile nearby. Even reaching day 46 of the massive search effort, detectives completely refused to share the specific brand, body style, or registration tags with the public. Relatives finally dialed 911 later that next day, bringing cops to the scene by 12:15 in the afternoon on February 1st. That gruesome discovery waiting right on the porch instantly turned into the most heavily scrutinized clue. Authorities, alongside medical experts and federal profiling specialists, noted crimson stains coating the main entryway. Those specific splatter marks formed perfectly circular shapes. Gravity pulled the fluid directly downwards, showing crime technicians that the bleeding victim stood completely still. Investigators found absolutely zero shoe tracks, tracking through the red puddles. Genetic testing swiftly matched the gruesome mess directly to the missing woman. Extortion messages landed almost instantly. Federal authorities verified that the earliest threat hit a digital inbox belonging to a local broadcast network, Channel 13. Additional alarming letters hit various gossip publications by February 2nd. The kidnappers boldly demanded $6 million in cryptocurrency, establishing initial payment dates for the 5th and 9th of the month. Those terrifying countdowns ultimately expired with zero cash exchanged, total radio silence, and entirely no proof showing the victim survived. However, the shocking contents held deep secrets that detectives simply could not ignore. The threatening text accurately pinpointed where her smartwatch sat indoors, while also mentioning the busted security illumination shining over her rear yard. Those pair of clues remained strictly confidential. Nobody shared them with the press, meaning the authors absolutely had to step foot inside that residence. By the 5th of the month, federal agents handcuffed a 42-year-old California man. This suspect deliberately texted fake extortion demands to grieving family members through a masked line. Tech experts easily linked those digital breadcrumbs straight to his personal email address. Still, government officials quickly realized this guy held zero ties to the real kidnapping. Watching the tragedy unfold on television, he cruelly forced his way into their nightmare and faced swift criminal charges. Yet the true mastermind, penning the actual demands, remained entirely at large. The actual predator, the one possessing intimate knowledge regarding the smartwatch and the broken patio bulb, from first-hand experience stayed a total ghost. Meanwhile, the crucial payout timelines quietly faded into terrifying silence. Federal sleuths managed an incredible feat by utilizing advanced hardware extraction on a physically stolen surveillance lens. Following 10 brutal days collaborating alongside major tech giants, they successfully salvaged deleted video clips hiding deep within the online network servers. The unearthed files revealed far more than just the exact evening of the abduction. Media journalists quoting multiple insider cops revealed that these restored video logs prominently featured clips filmed on January 11th, roughly 3 weeks prior. That identical suspect loitered by her entrance. He packed 0 bags, lacked weapons, carried no flashlights, and brought no tactical equipment. Now powerfully contrast that empty-handed visit with what this same invader lugged around during the fateful return trip. Arriving on January 31st, cops officially noted he hauled a massive 25-liter dark camping rucksack, as announced publicly during the main police briefing. Cops verified he wore a tactical rig clenching a torch between his teeth while tucking another inside his pocket. National magazines quoted veteran federal experts who spotted a deeply concerning gadget attached to his gear, a handheld radio. This wasn't some cell phone or frequency blocker, but specialized hardware meant for instant vocal exchanges with an off-site partner. Analysts made it crystal clear why this specific piece of technology completely shifts the narrative. Portable transceivers require multiple operators to function. That shadowy figure caught on tape actively chatted with a hidden accomplice while prowling around the property during the late hours. He updated a separate conspirator hiding nearby, syncing their sinister actions as the chaos escalated. Genetic swabs pulled from the wreckage pointed straight toward this exact horrifying theory. The lead investigator elaborated further. During a national broadcast airing March 12th, detectives revealed that biological samples scraped from the victim's living room definitively proved multiple distinct attackers breached the walls. Those biological markers completely excluded the homeowner, yielding absolutely 0 hits across major government criminal databases. A pair of complete ghosts managed to infiltrate the sanctuary unseen by police radars. Compare this terrifying forensic reality directly against those extortion letters. Federal officials and major gossip television networks verified that these written demands accurately outlined exactly where the missing woman left her smart device, while successfully pointing out the broken patio bulb hanging uselessly in the rear backyard. Authorities intentionally kept both crucial clues hidden from reporters during press briefings. Moreover, peeking over the fence offered 0 view of these extremely intimate domestic secrets. The maniac drafting the demands clearly trespassed inside her private quarters, paying razor-sharp attention to the placement of tiny electronics while carefully logging the malfunctioning exterior fixtures. High-ranking retired federal directors labeled this investigation wildly intense during major television appearances, simultaneously roasting the local precinct for severely butchering their daily press briefings. Another seasoned government investigator told prominent news anchors that the masked figure bumbling around the camera feed blatantly lacked serious tactical discipline or legitimate mercenary background. This brutal assessment carries incredible weight for the investigation, proving the invader acted purely like an amateur thug. Suppose the sinister character caught on film possessed absolutely 0 underground training for high-stakes abductions. How do we explain the incredible scouting trip 3 weeks prior, or his bizarrely flawless mental map of her furniture? All those synchronized communications and perfectly timed movements weren't born from natural talent. Instead, an invisible puppet master fed him the playbook. An informant tipped him off regarding the entrance. An insider whispered about the abandoned smartwatch. A traitor leaked the broken illumination details alongside the victim's midnight routines, specifically highlighting how her automatic bay doors swung wide open during pitch-black evenings. Someone actively gripped the opposite receiver, giving directions. Furthermore, federal testing undeniably proved a pair of total strangers, they bled together across the interior living spaces. Cops officially validated the handheld radio captured on tape. Authorities undeniably proved the sinister scouting trip from January 11th. Officials remain absolutely silent on the identities of these accomplices or the informant who orchestrated this entire nightmare. Hit that subscribe button for Cold Case Files USA immediately to catch every single explosive update as it drops. We rush fresh intel straight to our audience since the phantom on that tape clearly had backup, and that unlocked rear entrance was definitely no accident. The most chilling mystery here isn't figuring out the identity of the prowler caught on tape, but uncovering exactly who granted him access inside. Federal agents never demand sales history from massive retail chains regarding one particular rucksack unless they are completely certain it will reveal a suspect's identity. That 25-liter Ozark trail bag lugged around by the intruder is literally only available for purchase at Walmart. Sheriff Nanos publicly declared during a recent briefing that federal authorities are actively partnering with the megastore to track the buyer, while that tactical rig spotted on video belongs to the exact same brand. Detectives have also been independently canvassing local firearm shops, asking targeted questions about that precise harness. Law enforcement is hardly guessing or grasping at straws here. Authorities are executing laser-focused inquiries because they clearly have a prime suspect in mind and just need the paperwork to prove it, while that torch remains a crucial standalone clue. Arizona State University forensics expert April Stonehouse told journalist Brian Enton on tape that seeing the culprit clench a torch between his teeth provides a massive chance to extract genetic material. Any spit left behind on that device's casing might generate a genetic blueprint strong enough to definitively nail or clear a person of interest. Stonehouse believes federal detectives are desperately hunting for that specific tool, though recent media updates suggest they still haven't officially found the item in question. Authorities apprehended 42-year-old Hawthorne native Derek Culla on the 5th of February. The man managed to dig up phone details for Annie Guthrie alongside her spouse, Tommaso, then blasted out extortion threats using an anonymous messaging service designed to hide his digital footprints. Federal cyber teams tracked those digital threats straight back to his personal email address, leading to immediate criminal charges for the cruel hoax. Law enforcement officially confirmed that this scammer played absolutely zero role in vanishing Nancy Guthrie. He simply watched the tragedy blow up across the country and selfishly chose to profit off their misery. Those authentic extortion letters detailing the busted security lamp and the Apple Watch were definitely penned by a completely different monster. The 9th of February came and went without any cash drop communication or evidence the victim was breathing, prompting search teams to pull their scent hounds by the 39th day. Crime scene techs surrendered the property back to relatives on day 41, but Brian Enton and local residents confirmed federal agents swarmed the neighborhood once again on day 45. Detectives scoured the block explicitly, hunting for details regarding maids or repairmen working inside nearby houses, completely ignoring typical questions about random drifters. They stopped asking about weird cars and instead focused intensely on invited guests who freely walked inside. The absolute certainty behind these interrogations paints a terrifying picture of someone trusted enough to roam the halls unsupervised. Detectives are thoroughly convinced that the intimate household details leaked within those extortion letters, pinpointing exactly where a gadget rested or knowing precisely which exterior bulb burned out, proves the mastermind didn't just peek through windows. They were physically standing in that house. That disabled security lens next door is still baffling, as the backyard neighbor's Ring doorbell conveniently lost connection the exact evening she vanished. Both Brian Enton's journalism and the homeowner's personal testimony confirmed that the system had literally never flashed an offline error before that fateful moment. An investigative insider confessed to Brian Enton that the timing was incredibly suspicious, although authorities haven't officially tied the glitch to the kidnapping yet. Police remained totally silent on the matter while keeping Annie Guthrie's Honda CR-V impounded in their lot for over 40 agonizing days. Independent contacts told Brian Enton that the crossover's computer crashed violently during police data extraction, forcing them to hire dealership mechanics to fix it prior to release. Relatives finally got their ride back yet. Detectives are still hyper-focused on the victim's pacemaker, an explosive piece of evidence completely overshadowed by genetic profiles and security tapes. That medical implant constantly tracks heart rhythms and beams the statistics straight to corporate databases, totally bypassing the need for domestic Wi-Fi networks or smartphones. Sheriff Nanos openly admitted to the press that the tracker exists and continuously uploads vital signs. Our team at Cold Case Files USA verified these exact specs, leaving everyone wondering what happened after 2:28 in the morning. The actual truth about the events leading into the next afternoon remains heavily guarded, alongside whatever theories detectives pulled from those logs. During a bombshell NBC News sit-down on the 12th of March, Sheriff Nanos boldly claimed he figured out the core reason behind this attack from day one. He completely refused to reveal his theory, though he casually warned that the culprit might strike again, while an 84-year-old grandmother remains lost to the wind. The kidnappers dropped genetic material belonging to 2 unknown ghosts, alongside undeniable proof they staked out the house 3 weeks prior to the attack. They wielded walkie-talkies to execute a flawless tactical strike, leaving behind demands filled with intimate household secrets only a welcome guest could ever know. Yet the top cop running the entire show insists he understands the mastermind's reasoning, but his lips remain stubbornly sealed tight. The sheriff promised the terrified public was completely safe on the 2nd of February, merely 24 hours after detectives discovered gore smeared across Nancy Guthrie's porch and local broadcasters received terrifying extortion demands. He made that hollow promise just a day after his own squad admitted an octogenarian, heavily dependent on cardiac pills and unable to stroll, 50 yards unassisted, vanished into the dark without a trace. Citizens were essentially told to relax and brush it off, only for that exact same official to tell NBC News on March 12th that he grasped the underlying agenda instantly and fears the phantom assailant will absolutely hunt fresh prey. You simply cannot preach safety while predicting a second strike, a massive contradiction that Sheriff Chris Nanos continues to aggressively ignore. Experienced investigators immediately smelled a rat publicly calling out a massive trail of glaring lies right from the start. Journalists simply wanted to know who dropped Nancy off before she vanished, yet Nanos kept changing his story every time he spoke. He initially named Annie, later claimed she and Tommaso shared the ride, and ultimately pinned the entire trip on just Tommaso. Brian Enton later revealed that the sheriff ordered his public relations staff to ditch the specifics, vaguely blaming the family instead. Security cameras clearly captured the vehicle entering the garage at 9:48 that night. We are talking about hard facts here yet, the man leading the hunt fumbled the details across 4 completely different press statements. Richard Castigar Jr., a retired deputy packed with decades of relevant expertise, firmly informed the Daily Mail that federal authorities should have officially taken over 2 full weeks earlier. By painting the sheriff as an extreme control freak, he implied the shocking delay in federal help stemmed from ego rather than red tape. Former federal supervisor James Galliano spoke out directly on both Fox News and CNN. He slammed the local department on live television, heavily criticizing the bizarre way they spun and leaked crucial updates about this crisis. Top-tier experts did not make these claims lightly because veteran feds easily recognize a completely botched operation when they see one. Law enforcement veterans lost their minds over the mishandled forensics, especially after learning that vital biological materials were sent directly to DNA Labs International. Instead of utilizing the legendary facility in Quantico, they inexplicably shipped the samples to a privately owned lab in Florida. Federal insiders were absolutely ruthless in their critiques, using remarkably harsh words to describe the decision. Major news stations reported that bypassing the feds during a kidnapping felt incredibly absurd, guaranteeing every single test would require a full do-over for court. The sheriff publicly defended his choice, claiming he just wanted to keep all forensic materials securely grouped together. Federal agents completely rejected that pathetic excuse, noting the actual house had already been cleared. Within 20 hours of the incident, officials carelessly unsealed the home, letting local journalists record horrifying bloody stains right on the porch. When pressed later, the sheriff finally owned up to the blunder, admitting that hindsight is always 20/20. He confessed to abandoning the area too soon, but that realization obviously came after the damage was done. Meanwhile, the glaring disconnect between what police told the public and what they actually did behind closed doors grew impossible to overlook. The sheriff boldly told cameras that his team had no clue who the security video suspect was. Yet reporter Brian Enton discovered that field agents were actively canvassing nearby shops, flashing pictures of that exact same suspect to workers. Claiming total ignorance while actively shopping a suspect's face around town is definitely not some minor miscommunication strategy. It represents a massive, glaring lie that totally betrays what detectives were truly doing behind the scenes. Ex-intelligence operative Tracy Walder recently posed a terrifying theory that absolutely nobody in charge wants to answer. She openly wondered if the attackers truly meant to snatch Nancy, or if they were actually hunting her famous child Savannah. As the famous anchor of the Today Show, the daughter represented a lucrative prize, making Nancy tragic collateral. Nobody has officially confirmed or denied that terrifying angle just yet, leaving room for the possibility of a standard criminal motive. Perhaps thugs orchestrated a brutal cash grab that derailed during the payment talks. Under that scenario, the victim remains safely hidden somewhere, while desperate authorities race to bring her home. Detectives strongly refuse to dismiss that hopeful angle, but elite experts looking at the actual clues are painting a much darker picture today. Legendary federal veteran John Miller firmly staked his reputation on live television, bravely breaking down his grim professional theory directly to the anchors at CBS News. Relying on his deep experience, he brutally concluded that the plot fell apart within seconds, pulling 0 punches. Taking things a step further, he argued the kidnappers never truly wanted cash when they left those threatening letters behind. He firmly believes the suspects hastily scribbled those demands well after a horrific tragedy had already struck the victim. They likely staged the entire extortion angle as a complete decoy to hide the grim reality of what actually transpired. The goal was simply to blindside the cops with a fake hostage crisis, a theory echoed by seasoned murder detective Paul Cialino. He literally built his entire legacy on sniffing out the difference between organic evidence and staged theatrical nonsense. He dropped an absolute bombshell on the New York Post, firmly declaring she was never taken alive. By fully rejecting the abduction narrative in front of the world, he joined a chorus of elite professionals waving massive red flags. We are talking about top-tier federal commanders who spent their lifetimes hunting real hostage takers, meaning they know exactly how authentic extortion operations usually play out. Each of these heavyweights reviewed the tragic details on their own, yet all somehow landed on the exact same horrifying theory. Their deep suspicions boil down to one unbreakable rule of the underworld: real hostage schemes demand solid proof of life. Without that evidence, criminals hold 0 leverage, making the extortion scheme impossible to execute. Hand over the cash without any proof she's still breathing. Forget it. That extortion attempt holds absolutely 0 weight with her relatives. That bargaining chip simply evaporated into thin air. Ask any seasoned crisis mediator or veteran detective, and they will tell you exactly the same thing. Real kidnappers never suddenly go ghost when the clock runs out on their threats. Dropping off the radar isn't some clever tactic. It's a terrifying void. Those 2 ticking clocks expired in total quiet. February 5th drifted by, and then the 9th vanished without a single peep. Not a single picture, voice clip, or credible message ever surfaced to prove Nancy Guthrie was even still breathing. Ex-federal operative Jennifer Coffindaffer kept a close public eye on the probe, specifically breaking down that 2-way radio spotted in the security tapes. She ultimately determined he was actively conspiring live with an unseen accomplice. By March 10th, she openly declared that the hunting stage for the victim had officially wrapped up. She described the grim ordeal as a glass-half-full scenario, stubbornly refusing to explain what she meant. Yet that specific phrasing came from a veteran who spent decades meticulously calculating every single syllable before speaking out. Scent hounds were pulled off the scene 11 days prior, specifically on day 39. Let's stack those details up against the hard evidence. Our prime person of interest showed up empty-handed on January 11th and made absolutely no move to strike. 3 weeks passed before he reappeared this time, lugging a stuffed rucksack, a firearm rig, a weapon light, and a radio. He wielded intimate knowledge of the indoor layout, proving he had absolutely been inside beforehand. He pinpointed where a private gadget sat in a bedroom plus the broken state of a backyard lamp. Forensics proved multiple intruders breached the residence, leaving behind a genetic cocktail that matched absolutely nobody in the national system. A security lens aiming at the backyard mysteriously blacked out on that exact evening, which had never happened before. Fox News flagged a smashed electrical panel nearby that detectives are currently probing, even if it isn't officially linked yet. That first major clue begs the ultimate question: what truly went down indoors, and who was whispering over that frequency? The overwhelming consensus among specialists implies those extortion letters were penned long after the primary crime concluded serving strictly as camouflage rather than actual demands. It was purely a fabricated fairy tale designed to throw the cops off the real scent, according to John Miller's assessment. Paul Celino echoed that exact sentiment unreservedly, and Jennifer Koff and Daffer heavily hinted at it when declaring the manhunt officially over. Assuming those theories hold water that rear entrance wasn't breached to set up some lucrative hostage trade. The culprits propped it wide open to hastily disguise their dark deeds beneath a completely fabricated smokescreen. Law enforcement figured out the real motive on day one, but keep their lips sealed shut. Hit share on this clip immediately. To get these crucial details in front of the right eyewitness, we have to keep this going viral, so pass it around. 46 days deep, the authorities have built a solid timeline, but spawned a dozen haunting mysteries that remain totally unsolved. Here is the undeniable truth: a minimum of 2 perpetrators definitely infiltrated Nancy Guthrie's private sanctuary. Both of their biological signatures drew blanks in the national records, proving these ghosts had 0 prior felonies requiring swab collections. The shadowy figure caught on film previously scouted the area 3 weeks prior to showing up armed to the teeth. Packing a walkie-talkie proved he was broadcasting tactical updates live to an unseen partner throughout the entire raid. Those terrifying letters referenced hyper-specific indoor secrets that never hit the press and were invisible from the street. They noted a private gadget's exact bedroom spot and a broken backyard lamp right before Nancy's heart monitor dropped its wireless connection at 2:28 a.m. Crucial pills and her smartwatch sat completely untouched, while the porch lens was manually ripped off its mount and stolen. That crimson puddle by the doorway belonged to her. Those are the cold facts backed heavily by police briefings, media disclosures, and federal paperwork. Yet the official narrative ignores huge gaps: who these intruders actually are, how they memorize the floor plans so perfectly, and if that busted neighborhood power box, spotlighted by Fox News and heavily scrutinized by detectives, actually ties into the nightmare, or is just a random fluke. We still need to know why that backyard neighbor's surveillance feed suddenly glitched out into total darkness. Why did it unexpectedly die on that specific evening without any prior history of glitching? Do the suspect's weekend-only stalking patterns spotted on January 11th and heavily questioned by federal agents regarding January 24th suggest a perpetrator tied down by a standard weekday job? Moreover, what crucial secrets lie inside the pacemaker's standalone cloud server, which relentlessly uploaded diagnostics entirely independent of her phone or Wi-Fi during the agonizing gap between 2:28 a.m. and the horrifying moment her relatives found her missing? These remain the active, officially recognized avenues of pursuit. Federal agents officially slapped Walmart with warrants for any receipts linked to that Ozark Trail rucksack and tactical chest rig. Local firearm dealers received intense questioning regarding that exact shoulder harness too. By day 45 of the exhaustive manhunt, the feds swept the block, once again abandoning generic door-knocking campaigns to mercilessly grill residents specifically about handymen, domestic maids, and any hired help who held official access keys to nearby properties. That incredibly laser-focused strategy reveals a distinct underlying theory: the insider secrets scrawled across those extortion letters ultimately originated from a suspect who confidently walked through the main entryway with a perfectly legitimate excuse. Savannah Guthrie threw down a staggering $1 million to anyone who can finally bust this nightmare wide open. Her sibling Cameron, an active-duty combat aviator, keeps begging the public for leads, while the grieving relatives cooperate flawlessly with the feds. We at Cold Case Files USA just exposed a massive breakthrough. Dominic Evans might be the exact missing link everyone desperately needs to investigate. Turns out he has known Tommaso Cian, the very last guy to see Nancy breathing, for 19 solid years, and his rap sheet is already packed with serious theft and armed mugging charges. Our exclusive deep dive reveals a truly chilling detail. This guy's exact look perfectly mirrors the primary target federal agents are currently hunting down, specifically regarding his exact height, a prominent right wrist tattoo, and a pinky ring, though local cops haven't officially stamped these wild rumors as absolute facts just yet. Keep in mind, no formal indictments have dropped against him, so view his involvement purely through the critical lens of our raw unfolding and completely independent investigative reporting. Nancy Guthrie remains totally vanished, leaving zero solid evidence. She is actually alive, yet authorities still haven't officially declared her deceased. But things are shifting rapidly with feds stepping in, while the local sheriff clearly hides a massive secret, and somewhere within that tense standoff, the awful truth is slowly surfacing. We can learn two incredibly clear lessons here regarding calculated criminal plots, plus how police departments can either brilliantly solve the puzzle or completely ruin the entire rescue operation. First up is stalking tactics, as our prime suspect scoped out her yard completely empty-handed on January 11th, only to sneak back 20 days later, absolutely armed to the teeth. That terrifying gap was purely for scouting and gearing up, which is a textbook move when predators hunt isolated seniors who stick to incredibly predictable daily habits. We only caught that January 11th scouting trip because her smart doorbell fired the footage straight to a remote server right before the attacker brutally smashed the physical camera. Pulling that off took hardcore microscopic tech hacking and nearly 10 days collaborating with big tech proving exactly why wireless internet backups easily beat out traditional localized hard drives. Intruders can always rip a gadget off your porch, but they cannot erase the wireless signal, leading us directly into our next huge takeaway regarding catastrophic police blunders early on. Sending critical genetic swabs to some random commercial lab instead of headquarters, opening up bloody areas way too fast, and having the top detective publicly lie simply destroys way more than just community trust. These horrible mistakes literally infect the core trial strategy through endless wait times and forced re-examinations, handing absolute gold to sneaky defense lawyers, while teaching us a brutal lesson about police responsibility. When feds hunt for kidnapped victims, the crucial choices cops make during those initial 24 hours aren't just basic administrative chores. They form the core foundation, which is exactly why our channel exposes this stuff, since keeping everything totally public remains the absolute only way to force real responsibility. Tommaso dropped her home right at 9:48 p.m. on January 31st. By 9:50, the shutters locked shut as he drove off, giving us the final verified sighting. Whatever horror waited beyond that barrier, she faced it totally by herself. Meanwhile, the vicious monsters responsible for that isolation remain completely unpunished today, leaving behind a chaotic trail of front porch blood splatters and genetic material matching two unknown phantoms, alongside an abandoned Radio Plus creepy, letters detailing family secrets. Absolute strangers could never guess. Plus a local police chief who figured out the motive instantly, but stays totally silent, showing detectives desperately scrambling to build a solid case. Locking down every single clue is what will finally solve this horrific madness, because ultimately, Nancy is fiercely loved family. She loved Friday night poker games, struggled deeply just to cross her living room, and completely abandoned her vital prescriptions right on the counter. She desperately deserves to come home while her attackers need to face serious jail time. So hit that like button to help push this crucial message everywhere. Hit subscribe on Cold Case Files USA right now to get every single breaking update instantly, because our next dark mystery is absolutely ready to go. Sometimes the smallest moments carry the greatest lessons. In a world that moves fast and demands more every day, we often forget to pause to listen and to truly understand one another. Yet it is in these quiet moments that empathy is born. This story reminds us that every person we meet is fighting a battle we cannot see. A kind word, a patient response, or even simple silence can make a difference more powerful than we realize. Education is not only about knowledge, it is about shaping the heart. It teaches us to care, to respect differences, and to stand up for what is right. We are not just individuals, we are a part of a larger community. Our actions ripple outward, influencing others in ways we may never fully understand. When we choose compassion over judgment, we create a space where people feel safe, valued, and heard. Let this be a reminder: true strength lies in kindness, and true intelligence lies in understanding. If we carry these values with us every day, we don't just improve ourselves, we help build a better, more humane world for everyone.